Have you ever wondered about the sheer power of nature that we often take for granted? The Arctic storm, an extraordinary display of nature's might, is one such instance. This formidable force, often overlooked in our daily lives, manifests itself in the most extreme of environments, the frozen expanses of the Arctic. The Arctic storm is more than just a tempest of ice and snow. It's a complex, dynamic system that is born from a particular set of circumstances. Imagine, if you will, the vast icy landscape of the Arctic, a place where temperatures can plummet to 50 degrees below zero, where the wind can whip up snow so thick you can barely see your hand in front of your face. It begins with a simple shift in atmospheric pressure. Cold, dense air from the polar regions starts to move, drawn towards areas of lower pressure. As it travels, it picks up moisture from the open ocean waters, creating clouds heavy with snow. The wind starts to howl, the snow begins to fall, and before you know it, an Arctic storm is born. But these storms are not just meteorological events. They are powerful forces that can have profound effects on our world. They can disrupt travel, damage infrastructure, and even alter ecosystems. And in some cases, they can claim lives. The Arctic storm is a testament to the indomitable power of nature. It's a force that demands respect, that reminds us of our place in the natural world. We may have the technology to predict these storms, to track their progress and warn those in their path, but we are still at the mercy of their power. And so, as we explore the Arctic storm, let us remember this. We are not just observers of nature, but participants in it. We are part of a complex system, a system that is larger and more powerful than we can fully comprehend. The Arctic storm, a chilling reminder of nature's power, is not just a weather phenomenon, but a force that can change lives. Every storm has a beginning, a point of origin. This was no exception. In the heart of winter, in the earliest days of 2024, a cold front began its journey across the Arctic. It started as a mere disturbance in the atmosphere, an echo of icy winds skimming across the polar ice caps. The first signs of the emerging storm were subtle, almost imperceptible. The air pressure began to drop, and the winds started to gather strength, whispering the early tales of what was to come. A delicate dance of rising and falling temperatures created the perfect conditions for the birth of a storm. As the days passed, the disturbance grew, feeding off the cold, dry air of the Arctic. It began to swirl and churn, taking on a life of its own. The winds intensified, creating a vortex of cold air that began to stretch and grow. It was as if the storm was stretching its limbs, preparing for the journey it was about to undertake. In the span of a few weeks, the storm had transformed from a small disturbance to a full-blown Arctic cyclone. Its reach extended far beyond the polar circle, sending tendrils of freezing air southward. The meteorologists watched with a sense of awe and apprehension as the storm continued to strengthen. It was clear that this was not an ordinary winter weather event. As the storm approached the mainland, it brought with it a wall of frigid air, plunging temperatures to record lows. The world watched, bracing for the impact of the storm that was now on their doorstep. This was the birth of the 2024 Arctic storm. It was a testament to the raw, untamed power of nature, a reminder of our place in the grand scheme of things. It was a storm born of the Arctic, nurtured by the cold, destined to leave a mark on the world. What started as a whisper of cold wind soon turned into a roaring tempest, the 2024 Arctic storm. The storm didn't just peak, it redefined the meaning of peak. Imagine this, the wild winds howling like a pack of wolves on a moonlit night, the air so cold it sears your lungs, the snow falling so heavily it blots out the sun. This was the reality for many during the height of the Arctic storm of 2024. The storm was relentless, showing no mercy to any living thing in its path. It painted the landscape white, as if Mother Nature herself had decided to start with a clean slate. Trees bowed under the weight of snow, their branches creaking under the strain. Rivers froze solid, and the once bustling cities became eerily silent, except for the echoing cry of the storm. And then, there were the animals. Wildlife faced a brutal survival test as food sources became buried under layers of snow and temperatures plunged to lethal lows. Birds that were not quick enough to fly south found themselves in a frozen nightmare, while terrestrial animals hunkered down, turning to their fat reserves and hibernation instincts to endure the biting cold. Humans, too, were not spared. The storm forced us into our homes, disrupting daily routines and posing significant challenges. Power outages were widespread, turning homes into iceboxes. Travel was impossible, with roads resembling ice rinks more than highways. Emergency services worked tirelessly, responding to calls from people in dire situations, while meteorologists monitored the storm's progress, their faces etched with concern. But amidst the chaos, there were also stories of resilience and unity. Neighbors helping neighbors, strangers offering warm meals and places to stay, communities coming together to weather the storm. Such acts of kindness served as a reminder of the indomitable human spirit, even in the face of such a formidable adversary. The Arctic storm of 2024 was not just a storm, it was a testament to the raw, untamed power of nature. It was a stark reminder of our vulnerability and our resilience, of our ability to adapt and overcome. It was a force that demanded respect, that humbled us, that challenged us, and ultimately that brought us closer. At its height, the Arctic storm was more than a weather event. It was a force that brought life as we know it to a standstill. When the storm subsided, it left in its wake a world transformed. It was as if Mother Nature had thrown a colossal, icy tantrum, only to leave behind a chilling silence that echoed through the frost-laden landscapes. The Arctic storm of January 2024 was no ordinary meteorological event. It was a powerful reminder of nature's dominance and our own vulnerability. As the snow ceased and the winds calmed, the extent of the damage became evident. Infrastructure, once a symbol of human progress, lay battered and bruised. Roads were now icy pathways leading to nowhere. Buildings, once bustling with life, stood frozen in time, their structures weakened by the harsh onslaught. Power lines, the arteries of modern civilization, hung limp and lifeless, leaving communities plunged into a cold, dark abyss. But it wasn't just the man-made world that bore the brunt of the storm's wrath. The environment too was left scarred. Forests, once lush and vibrant, were now monochrome portraits of winter's cruelty. Rivers, once gushing with life, were reduced to icy stillness. Wildlife, the true inhabitants of these lands, were forced to adapt or perish in the face of this icy adversary. Yet amid this desolation there was an indomitable spirit that refused to be extinguished. The affected communities, in spite of the hardship and the cold, began to rally. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers became friends, and in the face of adversity, the human spirit shone brighter than ever. The aftermath of the storm was not just about the destruction it had caused, but about the resilience it had unearthed. As the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the healing began. The roads were cleared, the power restored, and life, albeit slowly, started to regain its rhythm. The forests, too, began their slow journey towards recovery, and while the physical scars of the storm may eventually fade, the memories and lessons it imparted will remain etched in our minds forever. In the aftermath of the storm, we saw the resilience of nature and humanity in the face of unprecedented adversity. What can we learn from an event as powerful as the Arctic storm? This question opens our final chapter, as we attempt to glean some wisdom from the icy breath of the Arctic that swept over us in January 2024. The storm, in its unforgiving might, brought a harsh lesson in humility, a stern reminder of our place in the grand scheme of things. We are, after all, only temporary guests in nature's grand ballroom. The Arctic storm was nature's way of reminding us to respect her boundaries, to understand that there are forces at work far beyond our control. It's a lesson in respect. Respect for the elements that shape our world, and respect for the delicate balance that sustains life on our planet. Yet, even as the storm raged, it brought to light another important lesson: the lesson of resilience. As the frosty winds howled and the snow piled high, we witnessed communities coming together, neighbors helping neighbors and strangers becoming friends. The storm showed us the strength that lies in unity, the power of collective action in the face of adversity. It reminded us that we are stronger together, that our survival hinges on our ability to cooperate and support each other. And then, there's the lesson of preparedness. The Arctic storm was a wake-up call, highlighting the need for better infrastructure, more effective emergency response systems, and comprehensive disaster management plans. It underscored the importance of being prepared, of anticipating challenges, and of having contingency plans in place. The storm taught us that to weather the worst, we need to plan for the worst. The 2024 Arctic storm was a stark reminder of the power of nature. It taught us lessons of resilience, respect, and preparedness that we must carry forward into the future. It's a call to action, a call to learn from our past, and a call to build a future that is resilient, respectful, and ready for whatever nature might throw our way.